No, Cookie, I don't call them Kentucky Candy, even though that's how you might know them. They're called OxyContin, and they're wonderful. Oh, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of JL's Book Club, where we don't talk about Fight Club because I didn't read Fight Club. So, before we get to this month's book, it was supposed to be books, but it was only supposed to be shoulder surgery, singular. So we were supposed to have plural books and one surgery, but instead we had surgeries, which turned into book, because little did I know that having a fucked up shoulder would impair my ability to hold a book, to write without pain and cursing. So I was slower on the reading this month than expected. Hopefully you'll forgive me, the 14 people who watch these high quality book reviews. And so we only have one book this month, and it's Surrender, 40 Songs, One Story by Bono. Hey, Bono. So before I get to that, I began... Oh, and we're sponsored. Of course, we have a beverage of the month. Veuve Clicquot. When you have nothing to celebrate but a lot of oxy, take some oxy and some champagne and see what happens. Veuve Clicquot. So there you go. We're running out of beverages, as you can imagine. We're running out of beverages in my fridge to highlight, so I'm pretty impressed that I've made it 10 episodes with a different beverage, considering how limited the beverages I drink are. Anyway, guys, we were also going to review George Michael's biography, which I've already started, and I'm enjoying it so far, but I've got probably 2 weeks before I'm done with it. And you don't like George Michael, Cookie? She was sighing. Anyway, but in the first chapter, I knew nothing. I just know I like his music. I know he died tragically in his early 50s on Christmas. But beyond that, what's interesting, though, I will tell you this, The Righteous Girlfriend, we were at her brother's house for Christmas, and we'd been talking repeatedly about wanting to see George Michael in concert if he went on tour again, you know, like some sort of legend doing the hits. And we've been talking about it multiple times. And Righteous Girlfriend got an update on her phone first about the death of George Michael. And she went over to her sister and had a private moment where she showed the update to her sister and then revealed to all of us that George Michael had passed away. And I get it, there's a bond between sisters and I'm sure they like George Michael. But I thought, we've been talking about George Michael pretty consistently over the last couple of weeks. So this is hitting me on the JL Jinx level. So you could have come to me first and been like, before I share this with other people, I want you to know your desire to see entertainers is still killing them. Now I will share it with my family. But anyway, I'm reading the opening chapter. I know nothing really about George Michael's life, other than the fact that, you know, he looked like a 45-year-old divorcee when he was 17. But in the first chapter, it talks about how he's awkward and unattractive and insecure, and he goes to this school when he's like 13, and the teacher can sense that he's maybe struggling a little bit and asks the class for a volunteer, like somebody who can, like, guide George, or Georgios, however you pronounced his Greek name, sensing he needed some help. And the person who volunteered was the most popular kid in the class, Andrew Ridgeley, soon to be his, bandmate in Wham. So I'm telling The Righteous Girlfriend this story, and I say, I'm going through the notes, and when I say, and guess who that was, who helped him, and as I say Andrew Ridgeley, she like clangs a dish in the dishwasher, so she doesn't hear it, so the impact is already diminished of, here's the big reveal, Andrew Ridgeley, clang, 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 clang. And she goes, wait, who? And I go, Andrew Ridgeley. She goes, was that his bandmate? And was that the other guy in Wham? I go, so you didn't know that? But the 2 times I mentioned Andrew Ridgeley as preamble to the story, you didn't think to say who's Andrew Ridgeley? And I just thought, what the fuck? Like, I can go on Twitter and I can go to random cities for barely any pay if I want to have my stories and jokes ruined by inattentive people. Not in my home. So anyway, guys. And I don't know if the HD will pick up all the flakes in my hair. It's not dandruff. It's just Oxy has dried me out. And I'm going on like a month of using Oxy. So at this point, I'm probably closer to being a cautionary tale about opioid abuse than a comedian with a healthy shoulder or a special. By the way, we're at 260 days since I recorded Half Blackface the second time. So, and all my albums are still nowhere to be found, and I'm getting no answers from CD Baby or the legal entity that I believe screwed me over. So, my shoulder is probably healthier than my comedy career right now. So why don't we talk about Bono's book, guys and gals, and non-binaries. Do I have any non-binary fans out there? Probably not. But if I do, wonderful. I see you. So, Surrender. Now, it's a little difficult for me to open the book and read long passages right now because my surgeon has done such a great job. But this book, I'm a huge U2 fan. Okay, not just because I'm 6'7", but I have. If you were to count the groups that I have the most albums of, it would be U2. I want to say Metallica maybe is next. And then after that, J.L. Cauvin, I think, would be my third most purchased artist. Yeah, I buy them on iTunes to help boost the ratings. Anyway, love the sound of U2. Saw them in concert in 2018. The aforementioned Righteous Girlfriend, when she paid attention to me and what I said more often, got me tickets to see U2 at the Garden. It was phenomenal. I couldn't believe that these dudes in their 60s were like rocking that hard and like that the show was that high quality. It isn't, no offense to the Rolling Stones, but it wasn't the let's wheel out Grandpa so he can play the hits from 1974. This was a band in full capacity musically and on stage. And all I kept thinking was the only bittersweet thought is like, imagine seeing U2 in 1988 or 1992. Like imagine seeing them literally at the height of their powers, not just kicking ass at 60. So they were great live. But yeah, I think I have more U2 albums than any band or artist. And I don't know what the fuck they're talking about in half their songs. I'm not afraid to admit that. Some songs, sure, I get it. Some songs I'm like, Bono, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's no context here. You're like saying random poetry about, oh, I thought that was about your uncle, but it was actually about the troubles in Ireland. Oh, okay. Oh, that was a great love song. Oh, I'm sorry, that was about your dead dad. So it wasn't about, okay, it wasn't that kind of love. Okay, okay, gotcha. This is about a fight. No, it's about your childhood home. Okay, I don't know, Bono. I don't know. But this book, as a huge U2 fan, it's like Rosetta Stone Bono, where it's like, oh, that's what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, these are like, I get it. Like these are deep and intricate lyrics telling your story or telling politics or telling about hunger in the world. But all I've ever thought was like, I like his voice. The music sounds good. Occasionally, I think I know what the fuck they're talking about. Rosetta Stone. That'd be a funny way to turn it. Rosetta Stone Bono. That's what I call this book. But I think there are a lot of really good stories. Bono is this like. There's a lot of people who hate him, I guess, because he actually really walks the walk. He tries to do actual good things. He's very self-aware of like that. He doesn't want to be a douchey do-gooder. He doesn't want to be a white savior. He doesn't want to be all the things that probably people have labeled him negatively over the years, but he has done a lot. And I think one of the interesting things that I learned in the book was that 3 of the 4 band members, Adam Clayton, the suave bass player, is, more of a Ron Reagan Jr., if you know what I mean. Not afraid of playing the bass and being an atheist. A bassist. Yes! A batheist? Yes! Oh, my shoulder, fuck! Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. Do you see how making content just makes me a little more happy? This is why. And I got great, my suicide letter podcast that I posted like last week. I got beautiful responses, especially, some really nice responses, very touching responses. So I do appreciate it, but it is true. I really do enjoy making this stuff. It's just the joy of making fun things for people who get it constantly runs into the brick wall of majority of population stupid, stacked on dumb, lazy industry, stacked on comedians suck, stacked on the world is ending. So it's sometimes it hits hard, you hit that brick wall and it really hurts, and then you get Suicide Note podcast. Maybe I'll make that a special sidebar of the podcast. Like when I know they're bad ones, I'm like, oh, this is not a bonus episode. This is Suicide Chronicles 4. So feel free to skip it if you don't like those. But 3 of the 4 members are religious, and Bono, I mean, Protestant, Catholic, like kind of mishmash from Ireland, but they're sort of like, they almost have the vibe. Edge, Bono, and Larry Mullins Jr. have the sort of vibe of like evangelicals almost, but that actually believe in living Jesus's teachings versus I'm evangelical, which means I like Old Testament wrath and church picnics and nothing else. Mostly Jesus is just a bystander in my spiritual life. But it's like Edge at one point. Okay, let's see if we can read a passage if you're still watching this. Christ's sakes. Sorry. It's Sunday and I'm reading about a religious band. There is no greater insult to a young man than to question his fervor, meaning religious fervor. How tough is he? How serious and committed? Even if you are a slacker, you are a committed slacker. Mostly a young man wants to be challenged to do difficult, if not impossible things, like to give up his music. Eventually it became too much for Edge. He couldn't live with the apparent contradiction of being in a band, finding a global audience, and this humbler calling to serve a local community. He was asking himself questions about the utility of art. The Presbyterian was starting to win out over the Zen. I drove over to his parents' house in Malahide one evening and sat down on his bed. I had a feeling he wasn't interested in talking about how the second album, October, was coming on, but I didn't quite know what was on his mind. I feel like I should have tinted sunglasses. I should have gotten my tinted sunglasses out to read Bono's book. You dropped the ball on that, RGF. The notorious RGF. I didn't know that when I arrived I was in a band, and when I left I wouldn't be. I've got a problem I can't solve in you too, he explained. I'm not sure I want to make music this way. Edge is not a complainer and doesn't do melodrama, but he was in some kind of agony. Chris, Dennis, all of them, they're asking questions that I just can't answer. What sort of questions, I asked, as if I didn't know. About whether we can be a band and be believers. Ah, those questions. Look, I'm troubled too. But there's a special feeling when we play. It's when we stop playing I feel like shit. But I won't say I'm not challenged by these people. I don't have answers to their questions either. But Edge did have an answer, a radical one. There are so many problems, messy, complicated, problems out there in the world, and maybe running away with the circus is not what we're being called to do. Or not what I'm called to do. I've spoken to Aislinn, his first wife. She understands. I hope you do. I'm out, Bono. I really am. I'm sorry. So this is when Edge quit the band. Now, they eventually get back together. And what's interesting is that Sunday Bloody Sunday, if I read the book right, because it can sometimes get slightly confusing, I think Sunday Bloody Sunday was like one of Edge's responses to like, oh, let me try to make music to impact some change, to speak to the things that concern me. And that's what I do with my jokes, I think. Is being a comedian what I'm called to do and how I'm called to serve on this earth? Probably not. In fact, if you've listened to the podcast, you know that God, I think, has spoken to me in a way that we haven't seen that line of direct communication since the Old Testament. So when I say the book of JL should be in a New Testament, I'm only half kidding. Because God has clearly said, JL, anything actually but comedy. I will rip your shoulder apart if you don't start listening to me. So I had to cancel Pittsburgh. So I feel as real fans of mine should know, I feel a sort of connection to that sort of what are you doing with your life, not just about a career, but about a calling. And I just found it fascinating because this is one of the biggest bands in the world, and they've been together, the same 4 guys, since like 1978 or something. Like I think they predate my life. That's how long they've been together, and they've had ups and downs. But like, I found that to be an interesting one because they were just on the cusp of starting to break through to another level. And, this wasn't some faux Christian band like, I need my music. It was like, I don't know if I can do this and be the person that I want to be. I found that kind of an interesting early tidbit. I don't need to read this next part, but there's a chapter that discusses when he met Frank Sinatra, and it's fascinating to see kind of somebody that is an icon in their own right now, kind of shrinking in the presence of an even bigger, towering icon. And they got along very nicely, but Bono at one point thought he had pissed on a couch. He had passed out while drinking, trying to impress Frank Sinatra, and he woke up and his pants were all wet on the couch. Turned out he'd spilled his drink, which still probably wasn't looked at favorably by the chairman of the board, but at least it wasn't urine. It was U2, not urine. That's a little U2 pun. But the book sort of speeds along towards the end. It's almost like kind of cramming in a lot of like important tidbits. Not tidbits, like anecdotes that you'd be like, why didn't you talk about that? I mean, dealing with Mandela, dealing with Clinton, dealing with Bush. There's just a lot of super impressive stuff, and I just saw something that I wanted to look at, but oh, yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, he mentioned Mozart, but no. But I really liked the book, is the point. And the RGF actually got me tickets to Bono's book tour in April for my birthday. So how about that? So he'll just probably talk about the book and I'll be like, already read it. You have anything new, Bono? No? Okay. But just kidding. But yeah, I like the book. It's one of those books where I go, if you're somebody who's like, oh, I fucking hate Bono, then you're not going to buy or read this book. I don't know why you hate Bono. He's a great artist and seems to be a genuine person striving to be a great person, not in an arrogant way, but to do great things and good things, to do good things with what he has. And if you like U2, don't act like you know what these fucking songs mean, all of them. So some of them, of course, but not all of them. So it's go get Rosetta Stone Bono, okay? Go out and get it immediately if you're a U2 fan. And next month is Black History Month, or as we call it here, Half Black History Month. Do I think Half Blackface will be out? No. Now, was my original goal to have it out in Black History Month 2022? Yes. So the fact that it won't be out in Black History Month 2023 feels racist, actually, at that point, because even if it's just half Black History Month, you'll have missed 2 half Black History Months, which equal 1 full month of Black history. So, however way you slice it, my comedy career has truly been devastated and destroyed, and I wish I could just go John Wick, but instead I bitch and podcast. That's as close to John Wicking as I can possibly get. But I'd love to just go John Wick on everybody who killed my puppy. Not you, Cookie. Half blackface. But I can't, because I am I'm a civilized man and a man of composure, as you all know. Can't do it. So, half blackface. Will it be out by my birthday? Who knows? What a birthday present that would be. That would actually ruin my birthday, to be honest, if it came out on my birthday, because I'd be like, oh, you showed up? Fuck you. Get out of my house. So for Black History Month, I'll be reading The Warmth of Other Suns, the epic story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. It's a thick book, THICC, because it's Black History Month, and won't be a hard one for me to finish if I don't have to cancel any more gigs, because I have a lot of gigs coming up, which means travel, which means reading time. But if my shoulder isn't okay, I'm going to be doing a lot more than canceling gigs. And on that ominous note, thank you for watching this episode of Jail's Book Club. Remember, books, they're like documentaries for smart people.